March 27, 1941. The Mediterranean Sea sleeps under a moonless sky as Vice Admiral Angelo Iachino commands the most powerful Italian naval force assembled since the war began. Aboard the battleship Vittorio Veneto, he studies charts showing British convoy routes near Crete, 4 destroyers, 3 heavy cruisers, and his flagship. Enough firepower to obliterate any British force in these waters. What Admiral Iachino doesn't know is that 200 miles away in a drafty mansion outside London, a 19-year-old woman who dropped out of university has just noticed something impossible, a missing letter that will doom his entire fleet. The encrypted messages crossing the Mediterranean were believed to be ironclad, machines gifted by Hitler himself, built to turn language into unreadable storms of symbols. Every 24 hours, the Italian Navy twisted dials, swapped rotors, reset the scramble, a fortress of mathematics that even Britain's brightest minds could not penetrate. For a year and a half, the specialists at Bletchley Park had stared at those signals like astronomers trying to decipher a dying star's final light. Patterns refused to appear. Reason mocked them. It seemed hopeless. Meanwhile, the young woman in the cold hut, Mavis Beatty, spent long nights typing message after message, fragments of naval communications nobody could interpret. The men with doctorates dismissed the traffic as noise. But Mavis, she kept noticing tiny irregularities, as if the encryption was trying to whisper a secret. Then it happened. March the 25th, 2:14 a.m. A new transmission arrived. Routine format. Same meaningless scramble of letters. But buried inside the sequence, a repeated cluster. 3 identical coded fragments, scattered like matching footprints in fresh snow. Her mind snapped to attention. Could this be a procedural habit? A lazy operator filling empty space? She remembered German operators using filler marks, like someone tapping their fingers when they run out of words. What if these Italians did the same? She sprinted to her supervisor's office. Dilly Knox, the eccentric genius everyone feared interrupting. She woke him with the message sheet clenched in her fist. "They've made a human mistake," she whispered. Knox stared at the letters, and in 7 stunned seconds realized the same thing. Cryptographic padding. Meaningless text the operators inserted to meet a length requirement. A hidden weakness introduced by boredom and fatigue. That tiny slip, that one crack, changed everything. Knox assembled his team immediately. 3 mathematicians, 4 codebreakers, and the teenager who found the flaw. They had 72 hours before the settings advanced and the opening vanished forever. What followed was a battle against numbers large enough to swallow reason. The order of the rotors, the ring alignments, the plugboard swaps, billions of potential configurations. The mathematically trained analysts worked like machines. Mavis worked like an artist. She didn't compute, she intuited. She hunted for familiar shapes in the chaos. Hours blurred. Coffee cups multiplied. Sleep was a luxury no one dared take. At hour 37, another message arrived. The same mysterious filler slipped in again, but encrypted differently this time. That was the moment the dam began to fracture. 1 plugboard mapping identified. A single letter reclaimed from the abyss. Then another. Then another, wheel order confirmed by hour 51. Ring settings pinned down by hour 63. With 4 hours remaining, Mavis locked in the final configuration. The impossible had become solvable. The first decoded signal was mundane. The second made Knox nearly collapse. Italian warships, 3 heavy cruisers, a battleship whose guns could erase a coastline. Destroyers moving in formation would depart to ambush a British convoy south of Crete. Exact position. Exact timetable. Knowledge no army should ever possess. Admiral Andrew Cunningham studied the intelligence. His forces were smaller, weaker. On paper, they didn't stand a chance. Unless he turned this information into a trap. His fleet slipped from port in silence. No radios, no signals, not a single whisper into the air. To the Italians, the sea was empty. Meanwhile, every order Admiral Iachino issued was read in London before some of his own officers saw it. They were navigating blind. The British saw them like silhouettes under a spotlight. March 28th, nightfall. The Italian fleet gave chase to British cruisers, unaware that they were chasing bait. 2 hours later, in pitch darkness, British battleships loomed out of the void, searchlights igniting the night. 4 minutes of thunder. Cruisers shattered. Destroyers ripped apart. The most one-sided naval defeat of the entire war, because one young woman noticed something everyone else assumed was meaningless. The Italians spent months searching for a traitor. They never imagined their flawless encryption was undone by a teenager armed with intuition and a typewriter. So their overconfidence continued. Every mission, every route, every secret, Britain read them all. The psychological damage was irreversible. A navy once feared in the Mediterranean began refusing to sail far from shore. They weren't just losing ships, they were losing faith. But Mavis, she went home each day like she'd merely filed papers. She couldn't speak of what she'd done. Not to friends, not to family, not even to her children. Decades passed. Gardens grew. History almost forgot her. Only when the files were unsealed did the world learn what she accomplished. And even then she shrugged off the praise. I just did my part. But the truth is undeniable. A 19-year-old outsider overturned the logic of war. Not with power, not with authority, but with pattern-sensing brilliance that didn't fit the era's definition of genius. She proved something history still struggles to accept. The impossible isn't impossible. It's merely waiting for the right mind to notice the flaw.